about the imminent arrival of our daughter, and he said how thrilled he'd been about the birth of his first son decades before. He then got to the heart of things. "Neil, you're obviously very talented with a bright future," he started. He talked about how clear the reports my office had submitted to Congress were, and noted that the press was generally effusive in its praise of me and my team. Always circumspect about being complimented in Washington, I waited for the kicker. "But you're really hurting yourself." "In what way?" I asked, genuinely curious about where this might be going. "Well, you're a young man, just starting out with a family, and obviously this job isn't going to last forever. Have you thought at all about what you'll be doing next?" It was not the first time I'd been asked that question in Washington. It's the question that everyone asks, always to themselves and sometimes to others. What's next? What's your angle? What's going to be the payout? How are you going to leverage your current position to get a better one with more power and a bigger payout? I gave Allison my standard answer, whether to a reporter, congressional staffer, senator, family member, friend, my wife Karen, or myself. "Herb, in my first Senate hearing, Richard Shelby, the top Republican on the Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee, and whose Southern drawl I couldn't help affecting as I told this story, told me, 'Mr. Inspector General, you have a wonderful opportunity here, an opportunity not too many people get, the opportunity to make a real difference, an opportunity to serve the American people in a true and meaningful way. And if you do this job the right way, you'll never be able to get a job again. No one will hire you, and that would be a good thing.'" I explained to Allison how meaningful that exchange had been to me. "Shelby was trying to be funny," I said, "but there was an important point there, too, that the only way to do this job was not to think about what I would be doing next. If I ever start thinking about a law firm job or a job on Wall Street or even another government job, those concerns will inevitably start creeping into my decision-making." Allison was unimpressed with my speech. Not that I can blame him. I'm sure it sounded like a soundbite devised for a press interview. He continued, "You have to think about it. And I'm telling you, you're doing yourself real harm. Out there in the market, there are consequences for some of the things that you're saying and the way that you're saying them." I was impressed with Allison's approach. By that point, I'd been in Washington long enough to know when I was being played, and Allison was essentially threatening me with lifelong unemployment. But to his credit, his tone dripped with sincerity. "Herb, I know that. I understand that. But, like I just said, I really can't think that way. I wouldn't be doing my job if I started thinking that way." Having failed to achieve the desired response by holding up the spectacle of homelessness for my wife, my soon-to-be-born daughter, and me, Allison shifted course. "Well, it's not just that. On the Hill, I'm hearing a lot of things about you. Sure, during a hearing they may say some nice things, but there are a lot of members of Congress, particularly in the Senate, who think that you've gone too far, and you're losing credibility fast." A much better play, Herb, I thought. Allison had struck a nerve. The relevance of my oversight depended on strong credibility with members of Congress. At SIGTARP, we had limited authority, and without strong backers in Congress, our work would quickly recede into irrelevancy. "I can't control that, Herb," I responded. "It's not as if we sit there and craft each word in our reports based on how we think some senator or a congressman might react. We just tell the truth in the way that we see it." Allison persisted. "It's not so much the content as it is the tone. Your tone is the problem." "My tone was part of my job," I explained. "Herb, when I first got here, a senior congressman took me aside and said, 'Neil, let me tell you how this town works. You can write the best and most important reports in the world and Treasury will ignore you. The only way that you're going to be able to have an impact is to get us, Congress, involved. And the only way that we'll pay attention is if your reports are covered in the press. Then we'll embrace you, and then Treasury will pay attention.'" I explained to Allison that I had stuck with that advice and it had proven exactly right, and that my tone was necessary to penetrate all of the noise in Washington and get the attention of the press, Congress,